guys, welcome to my video. Today we are making homemade pizza from scratch. We are making the dough from scratch and we are making homemade tomato sauce. If you're new here, my name is Hailey. I'm a mom of 4. I love everything about the homeschooling, homemaking, homesteading, homemade, everything. I finally learned my purpose in life is to just be a nurturer of the home. So this is why I am making videos to share everything with you, learning alongside you. So today we are making homemade pizza dough from scratch and homemade tomato sauce from scratch. This is my first time making this, so let's learn and make it together. So first off, we will go ahead and make our pizza dough first and start getting that crust to rise, because that has to rise for about 30 minutes to an hour. So we're going to make our dough, put it off to the side, and then we're going to make our homemade pizza sauce. Go ahead and list everything we need so you can make it alongside me, or if you want to write it all down, you can go ahead and do that. We need 1 1/3 cup of warm water, 2 1/4 teaspoons of yeast, 1 tablespoon of sugar, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 3 1/2 cups of flour. 1 1/3 cups warm water. I don't have a thermometer, so I just turn my water on and I'm going to let it warm up for a bit. We're going to mix our warm water, yeast, and sugar together in a bowl. My mixer's over here. I have my bowl right here. Okay, so for future reference, do y'all want to see me talk, or do y'all want to see everything poured into the bowl? Because sometimes I like both and it cuts off my head. I don't have that fancy camera. So we're just gonna measure 2 1/4 teaspoon of yeast. One-fourth is the whole packet. I just wanted to make sure. If you have a jar, just do 2 1/4 teaspoon. Water. I'm adding the water. 1 tablespoon of sugar. I don't know like my tablespoon, so that's 3 teaspoons if you don't have a tablespoon. That it's mixed, I'm gonna let it sit for about 5 minutes. So while that is sitting, I am going to mix the 2 tablespoons of olive oil, the 1 teaspoon of salt, and the 3 1/2 cups of flour into a bowl, so we can just pour it into our mixer. I have this one. Our salt, I like to use the Redmond's real salt. Alrighty, 5 minutes is up, so we're adding that olive oil and salt in here, and then our flour. I have the big food grade bucket of flour, and let me tell you, it just lasts a very long time. I added 1 1/2 cups so far. I'm gonna let this mix with the dough hook, and then I will add the last 2 cups slowly into our mixing bowl. I told my husband next year, for whenever we do the garden, I want to grow my own wheat and see how that goes, and mill my own flour. Just want to show you what our dough looks like. Oh, that's my baby. She's eating a snack. So it is runny. There we go. It is runny. It's like pancake batter. I guess some people like the thick pancake batter, some like a more thin. I'm adding some more flour here. Mix this up good. I'm getting a spatula to help scrape up the sides. So our dough is in a perfectly like ball shaped. My oven has a bread proofing setting. I never used it before and I can't seem to change the temperature below or past 95 degrees. So I'm going to attempt to put my mixing bowl with a cover on top for about 30 minutes and see if it does anything, because I want to experiment with that and see if it will actually help my dough rise. Let's see. It's not hot in here and it's like starting to get warm. You know what I mean? It's not like hot, but it's like not even warm. It's like at a decent temperature. The ultimate test, I am putting it in the oven. I read online that you can cover it, so we'll see. Okay guys, I'm not gonna cover it. I'm not gonna cover it. It's not hot where it's gonna catch fire, but guys, let's just not do that. So it's in there. So it's in there without covered, but it's warm. I'm gonna close it so it can be warm. Now we're moving on to our pizza sauce. And let's make that recipe. I got 8 tomatoes and let's see what that does. So what we're going to do first is we're going to boil the tomatoes for a few minutes so they can get warm, and then we're going to try to add them in the blender. I do not have a food processor where it'll make my is it a food processor? I think it's a food processor. Or I don't have an immersion blender. Well, it'll get very smooth. So we're just going to heat them up for a few minutes and then try to blend them up to get them to like a puree. I'm not adding a lot of water. I'm just going to add a little bit so it can start to like boil. I put about this much water just so like they can not cover them, but like help steam them up a bit. I have it on high so it can kind of like cook faster. So just a little tip and trick, whenever you have like sticks of butter and sticks of cheese, I put them in the freezer so I can grate them so it can be easier to grate, because you don't want to have like soft cheese or soft butter and not incorporate well of what you're doing. So I have a bag of cheese, but we kind of ate off of it during the week, so that's a half bag, but I did buy a block so it'd be easier for me to grate, and we kind of love cheese. We like cheesy pizza. I do. So they're getting to like a light simmer and they're steaming good, so I think I'm gonna pull them out because I think they're hot enough, and I just think they'll like blend more easier. Guys, this is my first time doing this, so learn from me. We'll add them. I got a slotted spoon so we can try to get as least water as possible. This one's split. Now we have our heavy bottom pot. I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm gonna let this heat up, and then we're gonna add our garlic so it can start cooking down. I'm going to add our tablespoons of garlic in here. Gonna let all this mix up. Lower it down to medium heat. So I didn't have no red chili flakes, so I'm just gonna use some chili powder, just 1/4 of a teaspoon. Then we're going to add our tomato sauce into our pot and let it cook down, simmer, and cover it once it starts simmering so it can start to thicken up. So I'm just gonna cook this on like medium heat, and once I start to see it simmering, I'm gonna lower it down just a little bit and cover it for a few minutes. Just a tip in the kitchen while you're waiting on something like this, let's wash our dishes so by the end we're all done and ready. You're not gonna have a load of dishes to clean. So let's start washing dishes. I'm gonna do that behind camera while this starts to simmer up. Okay, so now it's simmering. I'm gonna start one more time, and then I'm going to cover it and lower it just a little bit so it can thicken. Next up, you're gonna add any flavor spices you wanna add to your sauce. Gather all your spices you want to. Next, gather all your spices you want to add into your marinara sauce. I have some black pepper, some oregano, some basil, some salt, and I'm gonna add a teaspoon of sugar just to help all of this, all of the spices blend together. Let's take a look at our sauce. Oh yeah. The only thing fresh I have is basil from my garden. So I'm just gonna add a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4. Thank you. I'll try. So we're gonna give this a good little mix and let it sit for about 5 to 10 more minutes so it can thicken up. So while our sauce is finishing thickening, I took out our dough, which has been probably about an hour. What I did was I put it in the oven with the bread proof on for about 30 minutes, and I turned it off. That way the oven is still warm, and it doubled in size. So I'm just gonna do the good old punch. And then I'm gonna take it out on a floured surface. So what I'm gonna try to do is make 2 pizzas, not this big. It's probably gonna be small pizzas, but we'll see. So warm. Yep, it's sticking. So I'm just going to divide it into 2 small circles, and I'm just gonna work it out. But here you are. Guys always want to do this. Wow. You know, that really just like stretched it out and it was so cool. Got flour all over me. Guys, try it. Ooh, once you take your dough out the oven, go ahead and put it on for 475. I forgot that, so I did that. So I have some cornmeal. I'm just gonna lightly sprinkle it on the bottom of my sprayed greased pan. That's gonna give it like that crunchiness. And I'm going to put it off this side until our sauce is done. And I'm gonna have fun turning and mixing this one. So our dough is ready. And now we're checking on our sauce. Yum. So what I'm gonna do now is take it off this burner, scoot it to the side so it can start to cool off, and once it stops like bubbling and kind of cool down, then we're going to add it onto our pizza. And while that's cooling down, what you can do is, if you use block cheese, or if you're going to use block cheese, you can go ahead and start grating that now, so you can put that on top once that is done. I'm gonna go ahead and start grating mine. I'm looking for my grater. So I grated that small 1 block of cheese and it gave me about this much. So what I'm gonna do now is start to layer the sauce and the cheese on my pizzas. So I did that. Now I'm just gonna add the cheese all over. Then we're going to add some pepperoni. This is my kids' pizza, so we're just gonna do pepperoni. Load it up. Moving on to ours. Guys, I just realized I'm using my spoon on my new pot that I'm not supposed to be using. I got too carried away and excited. Darn it. I forgot and realized what I was supposed to be doing. Let's say that's my new good pot. Alright, see, here we go. Almost did it again. So this is what it looks like before it's going in. This is the kids. It's just a super cheesy and super pepperoni filled pizza. Ours has chicken, pineapple, bell peppers, pepperoni, lots of cheese. So I'm going to cook them for about 20 minutes or so, and I'm gonna show you what it looks like at the end. Okay, I took it out and I did leave it for the whole 20 minutes, and it looked like the crust cooked all the way through. This one was at the bottom, so of course it's gonna be a little bit darker than this one. So it is done and ready. Can't wait to try them.